Dr. Deer, brought to you by Buck Forage.
Well, folks, we've got a great topic this week on Dr. Deer. James, we're talking about establishing cover on small tracts of whitetail property.
Right.
And so in our series, we've talked about holding deer, and we've talked about hunting pressure, and we've touched briefly here and there about why cover is so important for both of those. But let's get into a little bit more detail.
Well, we have to talk about the basics of cover. There are three types of cover. There's winter thermal cover.
Right.
Okay. There is summer thermal cover, and then there is something called screening cover. Okay. The winter thermal cover is basically the structure of that is it has a relatively closed canopy, and it has some vertical structure, so that especially up north when you've got snow, that breaks the snowfall to the ground, and if you got horizontal structure, that prevents the wind from going into. You don't want that in the summer. So in summer thermal cover, we want a slightly stock stand that's more like park-like and has an open understory where you got a breeze that goes in there.
Sure.
And of course, anything that's this tall or taller can provide screening cover. A deer only has to run about 35 yards, and if you can't see him, you've got good screening cover.
Right.
Now, back in landscaping, we're talking about laying all these things out. And it's all about sustainability, Haynes. You know, you don't want to go in and knock down a bunch of trees and then, they're going to rot over time.
Right.
You need to have a plan.
Sure. And depending on where your property is and how it's laid out, you might very well have the appropriate types of cover already, but there are also things that you can work towards establishing.
Yeah, you've got two situations. You've got vegetation that all it has to do is be sculpted or manipulated to produce the kind of cover you want, and then you've got open areas where you've got to actually build the cover.
Right,
so that means planting things. One of the favorite things that we do is that we go into just practice good forestry.
Sure.
Or good brush management. We go in where we want a prolific growth of cover, we go in and thin it so we get some sunlight to the ground, and when you do, you get a responsive vegetation, and you can have them well staged around your property so that and then connected with travel corridors, and you've got yourself a place that'll hold deer.
Oh, sure. And the great thing about that, a lot of that new growth and cover that you're promoting is also a food source.
Exactly.
So
and
that's a win-win.
That's exactly right, and the deer don't have to go far.
Sure, sure. Well, folks, I'm Haynes Shelton.
And I'm James Kroll.
And this is North American Whitetail.